The weight of my father's casket pressed against my shoulder as I helped carry him to his final resting place. Rain pelted my face, mixing with tears I refused to acknowledge. Through the blur, I caught sight of Stacy walking ahead, her designer heels sinking into the mud as she clutched our stepmother's arm. Even at our father's funeral, she had to be the center of attention. My name is Zaylee, and this was the day I learned that blood isn't always thicker than water. Sometimes it's thicker than lies. He would have wanted you walking with the family. Camilla whispered from beside me, adjusting her grip on the casket. My cousin always knew what I was thinking. I am family, I muttered back. Whether Stacy likes it or not, the service was a blur of black umbrellas and hollow condolences. I stood apart from the crowd, watching as Stacy delivered a tearful eulogy about being Daddy's special girl. My stomach turned. If only they knew the truth about their perfect princess. Your father was a good man. Gareth, the family lawyer, appeared beside me. He would have been proud to see you here. I forced a smile. Thank you for coming, Gareth. Of course, we'll need to discuss the estate soon. Perhaps next week? Before I could respond, Stacy's voice cut through the air. Oh, Gareth, there you are. She glided over, her mascara perfectly intact despite her supposed grief. We can discuss everything tomorrow. I've already cleared my schedule. Gareth shifted uncomfortably. Actually, Stacy, both you and Zaylee need to be present for— Oh, don't be silly. Stacy laughed, the sound jarring against the somber atmosphere. Dad made his wishes very clear. Everything goes to me. Zaylee understood that, didn't you, sis? My hands clenched into fists. No, actually, I don't understand that at all. Now isn't the time. Our stepmother Ella intervened, appearing at Stacy's side. Please, girls, your father wouldn't want this. You're right, Mom. Stacy smiled sweetly. We should focus on remembering Dad, though I do need to stop by his study tonight to collect some important papers. My head snapped up. What papers? Just some family documents Dad wanted me to have. Nothing that concerns you. Something in her tone set off alarm bells. I'd seen that look before. The same one she wore when she convinced Dad to send her to private school while I stayed in public, or when she somehow ended up with Mom's jewelry collection after the divorce. Actually, I said, stepping forward, I think I'll help you look, for old time's sake. Stacy's smile faltered for a fraction of a second. That won't be necessary. I insist. The tension crackled between us like static electricity. Around us, mourners began dispersing, leaving only our immediate family in the rain. Fine, Stacy conceded, her voice honey-sweet. Meet me at the house at 8. We can go through everything together. I watched her walk away, her arm linked with our stepmother's. Camilla appeared at my side, her expression worried. You're not letting this go, are you? No, I replied, my eyes fixed on Stacy's retreating form. Not this time. That evening, I arrived at the house early. The spare key was still hidden under the loose brick by the garden. Dad never did get around to moving it. Inside, the house felt different, emptier somehow. Family photos lined the hallway, most featuring Stacy front and center, with me relegated to the edges if I appeared at all. I made my way to Dad's study, flicking on the lights. The room smelled of leather and his favorite cigars. My throat tightened as I ran my fingers along his desk, remembering countless evenings watching him work. A sound from downstairs made me freeze. Footsteps, too quick to be Stacy's usual measured pace. I ducked behind the door just as a shadow appeared in the hallway. Through the crack, I watched as Stacy slipped into the study, making a beeline for Dad's filing cabinet. She yanked open drawers, rifling through folders with desperate intensity. Looking for something? I stepped out from my hiding place. Stacy whirled around, papers clutched to her chest. You're early. So are you. Her eyes darted to the door, then back to me. I was just getting organized before you arrived. By destroying evidence? I don't know what you're talking about. She tried to push past me, but I blocked her path. In her haste, she dropped several papers. As I bent to pick them up, my heart stopped. There, in Dad's familiar handwriting, was a letter addressed to me. The date was just 3 weeks ago. Give me those. Stacy lunged forward, but I held them out of reach. My eyes scanned the first lines. My dearest Zaylee, there's something you need to know about your sister. My hands trembled as I read Dad's letter, each word hitting me like a physical blow. Stacy paced the study like a caged animal, her perfectly manicured nails drumming against her arms. You weren't supposed to find that, she hissed. Clearly. I looked up from the letter. Is this why you've been sneaking around? Because Dad found out about the forged documents? Her face paled. You don't understand. Oh, I understand perfectly. You've been falsifying his signature on business contracts for years, playing both sides, making deals behind his back. I waved the letter. He knew Stacy. He knew everything. Give me that letter. She lunged forward again, but I sidestepped her. Or what? You'll tell Dad? The bitterness in my voice surprised even me. Too late for that, isn't it? A knock at the study door made us both jump. Ella stood in the doorway, concern etched on her face. Girls? What's going on? I heard shouting. Nothing, Mom, Stacy said quickly, smoothing her hair. Just going through some old memories. I held up the letter. Actually, we were just discussing how your daughter has been defrauding Dad's company. The color drained from Ella's face. What? She's lying, Stacy snapped. She's always been jealous of my relationship with Dad. Now she's trying to turn you against me too. Read it yourself. I handed the letter to Ella, watching as her eyes widened with each line. Stacy, she whispered, please tell me this isn't true. Before Stacy could respond, my phone buzzed. It was a text from Camilla. Found something. Meet me at Cafe Luna, now. This isn't over, I told Stacy, gathering the scattered papers. Not by a long shot. 20 minutes later, I slid into a booth across from Camilla. Her laptop was open, and she was practically vibrating with excitement. You're not going to believe what I found, she said, turning the screen toward me. Remember that big contract Dad's company lost last year? The one that nearly bankrupted them? I nodded, scanning the documents on her screen. Look at the signature date, she pointed. Dad was in the hospital that day. There's no way he could have signed it. But someone did, I murmured, pulling out my phone. I need a lawyer. Already handled, Camilla grinned. My friend Bodhi specializes in corporate fraud. He's waiting for your call. I dialed the number with shaking fingers. A deep, confident voice answered on the second ring. Bodhi Daniels speaking. Hi, this is Zaylee. My cousin Camilla gave me your number. I need help exposing a fraud. I'm listening. For the next hour, I laid out everything we'd discovered. Bodhi asked sharp, precise questions, his interest clearly piqued. Send me everything you have, he said finally. And Zaylee, don't confront your sister again without me present. People like her tend to get desperate when cornered. As if on cue, my phone lit up with messages from Gareth. Emergency meeting tomorrow. 9 a.m. Stacy's pushing for immediate transfer of assets. She's moving fast, Camilla observed, reading over my shoulder. Too fast, I agreed. She's scared. That night, I couldn't sleep. I spread the documents across my apartment floor, connecting dots I should have seen years ago. Strange withdrawals from company accounts, contracts that made no sense. Dad's signature, subtly different on certain papers. A knock at my door startled me. Through the peephole, I saw Gareth looking troubled. Sorry for the late visit, he said when I opened the door. But there's something you need to see. He pulled out a thick folder. These were in my private safe. Your father left them there 3 months ago with instructions to open them only after his death. My heart raced as I flipped through the pages. Bank statements, security camera footage, email printouts. Dad hadn't just known about Stacy's deception. He'd been building a case against her. Why didn't he stop her? I asked, my voice breaking. Garrett's expression softened. Read the last page. It was another letter, dated just days before his death. My dearest Zaylee, if you're reading this, it means I ran out of time. I couldn't bear to send my own daughter to prison. but I couldn't let her destroy everything we built. The truth is in your hands now. Make it right. I looked up at Gareth, determination replacing grief. I need you to help me take her down. He nodded slowly. I was hoping you'd say that. Meeting's at 9 tomorrow. Be ready for a fight. As he left, I texted Bodhi. New evidence. How early can you meet? His response was immediate. 7 a.m., my office. Bring everything. The game was on, and this time I wasn't playing by Stacy's rules. Bodhi's office smelled of coffee and determination at 7 a.m. sharp. He stood at a whiteboard, mapping out connections between documents while I explained everything to Ricardo, the private investigator he'd brought in. These signatures, Ricardo pointed to several contracts. They're good forgeries, but there's a tell. See how the R connects differently? Amateur mistake. Amateur or not, she fooled everyone for years, I said, rubbing my temples. Not everyone, Bodhi corrected, capping his marker. Your father knew. And now we know. Ricardo, how fast can you track down the other parties involved in these contracts? Ricardo checked his watch. Give me 48 hours. People love to talk when money's involved. We don't have 48 hours, I reminded them. The meeting's in less than 2 hours, and Stacy's trying to claim everything. Let her try. Bodhi smiled, adjusting his tie. Sometimes you have to let people think they're winning before you show your hand. At 8:55, we walked into the conference room. Stacy was already there, wearing a black dress that probably cost more than my car. Her smile faltered when she saw Bodhi beside me. Who's this? She demanded. My lawyer, I replied, taking a seat. Hope you don't mind. Ella sat between us, looking like she hadn't slept. Gareth arrived last, his briefcase bulging with documents. Before we begin, Stacy announced, I have Dad's most recent will. It's quite clear about his wishes. She slid a document across the table. Bodhi picked it up, studied it for exactly 3 seconds, then set it down. Interesting. When did your father sign this? 2 months ago, Stacy said confidently. Remarkable, Bodhi mused, considering he was in a medically induced coma that entire week. The room went silent. Stacy's smile cracked slightly. That's ridiculous. I have witnesses. Like Marcus from accounting? I interrupted. We spoke to him this morning. He's very cooperative when faced with accessory to fraud charges. Stacy's face hardened. You're bluffing. Am I? I nodded to Bodhi, who opened his laptop and played a video. Marcus's nervous face filled the screen as he detailed years of cooking books at Stacy's direction. Turn that off, Stacy snapped, standing up. This is all lies. Mom, you can't believe this. Ella wouldn't meet her eyes. The signatures, Stacy. They match the ones in your old homework assignments. I recognized them last night. This is absurd, Stacy laughed, but it sounded hollow. Gareth, tell them about Dad's wishes. Gareth cleared his throat. Actually, I have something else. He pulled out the folder he'd shown me last night. Your father left very specific instructions about evidence of systematic fraud within the company. Stacy's composure cracked. You're all against me. You've always been against me. Dad loved me more, everyone knows that. Dad loved us both, I said quietly. He just trusted me more. Why do you think he left all this evidence with me? My phone buzzed. A text from Ricardo. Found the smoking gun. Former client willing to testify about kickbacks. Sending details now. It's over, Stacy, I said, standing up. We can do this the easy way or the hard way. You wouldn't dare go public, she hissed. It would destroy the company's reputation. Better the truth than more lies. I turned to Bodhi. Show her the numbers. He projected a spreadsheet onto the wall. Every fraudulent transaction, every forged signature, every stolen dollar tracked and documented. 5 years, he explained clinically. Over $12 million in fraudulent contracts. The DA's office would love this case. Tears smeared Stacy's perfect makeup. Mom, please. But Ella had moved to my side of the table, her hand finding mine under the surface. Stacy Harper, Bodhi continued, you have exactly 24 hours to sign a full confession and agreement to repay all stolen funds, or we take this to the authorities. You can't prove. We already have, Gareth interrupted. Your father made sure of that. Stacy grabbed her purse and stormed toward the door, pausing only to spit out, you'll regret this, Zaylee. I promise you that. After she left, Ella broke down crying. I held her while Bodhi and Gareth discussed next steps. Ricardo's team is watching her, Bodhi assured me. She won't get far if she tries to run. My phone buzzed again. Camilla, just saw Stacy leaving the building. She looked scary mad. Want me to follow her? I texted back. No, let her go. We've got everything we need. But something in my gut told me this wasn't over. Stacy had never been good at losing, and she had nothing left to lose now. Gareth seemed to read my mind. Be careful, he warned. The most dangerous animal is a cornered one. I nodded, watching the rain start to fall outside. The storm was coming, and I needed to be ready when it hit. The courthouse steps felt like a mountain as I climbed them 3 days later. Stacy hadn't signed the confession. Instead, she'd filed an emergency injunction claiming I was trying to steal her inheritance through false accusations. Ready? Bodhi asked, holding the heavy door open. No, I admitted, but let's do this anyway. Inside, Stacy sat with her new lawyer, a shark in an expensive suit. She'd traded her designer clothes for a conservative blue dress, playing the role of the grieving daughter perfectly. All rise, the bailiff called as Judge Martinez entered. Your Honor, Stacy's lawyer began. My client is the victim of a malicious attempt to deny her rightful inheritance through fabricated allegations of fraud. I gripped the table edge as he spun a tale of my supposed jealousy and desperation. Beside me, Bodhi remained calm, organizing documents with methodical precision. And now, the lawyer concluded, her own sister threatens to destroy their father's legacy with these baseless accusations. Judge Martinez turned to Bodhi. Counselor? Your Honor, Bodhi stood. Before I present our evidence, I'd like to call our first witness, Marcus from Harper Industries' accounting department. Stacy's face went white as Marcus shuffled to the stand. He wouldn't look at her. Mr. Marcus, Bodhi began, please tell the court about the meeting on September 15th last year. Objection. Stacy's lawyer jumped up. Relevance? Goes to pattern of behavior, Your Honor. Bodhi replied smoothly. Overruled. Continue. Marcus swallowed hard. Ms. Stacy called me to her office, said she needed some signatures verified on contracts. When I pointed out that her father was in the hospital that day, she told me to make it work or find another job. The judge leaned forward. Are you saying she asked you to forge documents? Not directly, Your Honor. She just said to handle it and left an envelope of cash on my desk. Stacy's lawyer scrambled to damage control, but Marcus's testimony was just the beginning. For the next 2 hours, witness after witness detailed Stacy's schemes. Former clients described kickbacks. Bank employees confirmed suspicious transfers. Security footage showed Stacy entering the office at odd hours. During a brief recess, Camilla squeezed my hand. You're winning. Look at her. She's terrified. She was right. Stacy's perfect facade was cracking. She kept whispering frantically to her lawyer, who looked increasingly frustrated. Your Honor, Bodhi said when we reconvened, I'd like to present Exhibit C, a video recording from Mr. Harper's private study, dated 1 week before his death. My heart stopped. I hadn't known about any video. The courtroom screen flickered to life, showing Dad sitting at his desk. He looked tired but determined. If anyone's watching this, he began, it means my worst fears about Stacy were true. I've gathered evidence of her fraudulent activities for months, but I couldn't bring myself to turn in my own daughter. Instead, I'm leaving this task to Zaylee. She has always been the honest one, the strong one. Stacy, if you're watching this, I loved you, but I cannot protect you from your own choices anymore. Stacy burst into tears, but they weren't her usual calculated sobs. These were raw, ugly, real. Your Honor, Her lawyer started, but she cut him off. "Stop," Stacy whispered. Then louder, "Stop, I can't do this anymore." The courtroom fell silent as Stacy stood on shaking legs. "It's all true," she said. "Everything they're saying. I forged the signatures. I made the deals. I thought I could fix it before anyone found out. But then Dad got sick and everything fell apart." Judge Martinez's gaze was steel. "Ms. Harper, are you admitting to multiple counts of fraud?" "Yes," she whispered. "Yes, I am." The next hour was a blur of legal terms and arrangements. Stacy agreed to a full confession in exchange for a lighter sentence. The inheritance would be properly divided according to Dad's original will. The company would survive, barely. As we left the courthouse, Ella caught up to me. "I'm so sorry," she said, tears in her eyes. "I should have seen it. Should have known." "We all should have," I replied, hugging her. "But we can't change the past." Bodhi appeared with a stack of papers. "We need to file these immediately. The forensic accountants are already working on recovering the funds." "What happens to Stacy now?" I asked. "Community service, probably some house arrest. The judge went easy considering her cooperation and your father's reputation." I watched as Stacy was led to a waiting car, her designer handbag replaced by a paper bag of personal effects. Our eyes met briefly, and for the first time since we were children, I saw my sister instead of my rival. "Was it worth it?" I called out. She paused, then shook her head slowly. "Nothing ever is." The car drove away, and I felt a weight lift from my shoulders. But as Bodhi started discussing next steps, my phone buzzed with an anonymous text. "You took everything from her. Now she'll take everything from you. Watch your back." The war wasn't over. It was just changing battlefields. The threatening text was just the beginning. Over the next week, strange things started happening. My office keys disappeared. Files went missing from my computer. My car's tires were mysteriously slashed. "Someone's trying to scare you," Ricardo said, examining my vandalized car. "And they're good at covering their tracks." "Stacy's under house arrest," I reminded him. "She can't be doing this herself." "No, but she has friends, powerful ones who lost money when she went down." I was about to respond when my phone rang. Unknown number. "Hello? Is this Zaylee?" A man's voice, unfamiliar. "I have information about your sister's other accounts." I put it on speaker so Ricardo could hear. "What other accounts?" "Offshore. Cayman Islands. There's more money, lots more. Meet me at the old warehouse on Pike Street tonight. Come alone." The line went dead. "It's a trap," Ricardo said immediately. "Obviously," I agreed. "But it might be our only chance to find out who's behind all this." "You're not going alone." He pulled out his phone. "I'm calling Bodhi." 2 hours later, we had a plan. I'd meet the mysterious caller, but Ricardo's team would be watching. Bodhi insisted on being nearby with a legal team ready to move on any new evidence. The warehouse loomed dark and imposing in the evening light. I checked my hidden microphone one last time. Testing, testing. Clear signal. Ricardo's voice came through my earpiece. "We've got eyes on all exits." I took a deep breath and walked inside. The space was vast, empty except for some old machinery and scattered debris. Footsteps echoed behind me. "You came." A man stepped out of the shadows. I recognized him. Thomas, one of the board members who'd resigned after Stacy's arrest. "You're working with her," I said. It wasn't a question. He smiled coldly. "Stacy was good for business. Very good. Until you ruined everything." "She ruined it herself." "Perhaps." He pulled out an envelope. "But we can fix it. Inside is proof of 20 million in hidden accounts. Sign over your share of the company and it's yours." "Why would I do that?" "Because if you don't, certain accidents might start happening. To you, to your cousin Camilla, to your stepmother." A noise from above made us both look up. A figure moved in the shadows of the upper walkway. "I thought I said come alone," Thomas snarled. "I did." My blood ran cold. Someone else was here. Suddenly, the lights blazed on. Stacy stood on the walkway, her house arrest ankle monitor blinking. "Really, Thomas?" She called down. "This was your big plan? Amateur." "Stacy, what are you doing here?" he demanded. "You're supposed to be under house arrest." She laughed bitterly. "Did you really think this little ankle bracelet could stop me? I own the security company that monitors it." "You're violating your plea deal," I said, backing toward the door. "Oh, sister dear." She smiled. "That plea deal was just to buy time. Time to find out who my real friends are." She looked pointedly at Thomas. Clearly, I had fewer than I thought. "The police are on their way," I warned, my hand finding my phone. "No, they're not," Thomas smirked. "Your little wire isn't transmitting anymore. Signal jammers are wonderful things." My heart raced as I realized he was right. My earpiece was silent. "What do you want?" I demanded. "Want?" Stacy descended the stairs slowly. "I want my life back. I want what's mine. And mostly," she pulled out a gun, "I want you to understand how it feels to lose everything." "Think carefully," I said, trying to keep my voice steady. "You're already in trouble. This will only make it worse." "Worse?" She laughed. "I'm already ruined. What's a little more trouble?" Suddenly, the warehouse doors burst open. Ricardo's team poured in, followed by police officers. "Drop the weapon," they shouted. Thomas tried to run but was quickly tackled. Stacy just stood there, gun still raised, tears streaming down her face. "It's over, Stacy," I said softly. "Please don't make this worse." For a moment, I thought she might actually shoot. Then the gun clattered to the floor and she collapsed, sobbing. As the police led them away, Bodhi appeared at my side. "Signal jammers didn't work?" I asked. He smiled. "Ricardo insisted on backup frequencies. Good thing, too." I watched as they loaded Stacy into a police car. This time, there would be no house arrest, no plea deals. "You okay?" Camilla asked, hugging me tight. "No," I admitted. "But I will be." Later that night, as I sat in my apartment with Camilla and Bodhi, discussing next steps, my phone buzzed with a text from Ella. "Just heard what happened. Coming over. We need to talk about the company's future. Together. Maybe something good could come from all this destruction after all." The boardroom felt different now. Sunlight streamed through the windows, illuminating the empty chair where Stacy used to sit. 2 weeks had passed since the warehouse incident, and today we would decide the company's fate. "The numbers aren't good," Gareth announced, distributing reports around the table. "Stacy's actions cost us more than just money. We've lost client trust. Show them the proposal," Ella urged, squeezing my hand under the table. I stood, smoothing my blazer. "We've lost trust, yes, but we can rebuild it, starting with complete transparency." Clicking through my presentation, I outlined the plan I'd spent sleepless nights developing. New oversight committees, external audits, a complete restructuring of the management system. "This is ambitious," one board member commented. "Very ambitious." "It has to be," I replied. "We're not just saving a company. We're saving my father's legacy." The boardroom doors burst open. Ricardo rushed in, looking worried. "Sorry to interrupt," he said, "but you need to see this." He turned on the wall-mounted TV. Stacy's face filled the screen. She was giving a live interview from prison. "My sister destroyed our family business," she was saying, tears glistening. "She turned everyone against me out of jealousy, and now she's trying to take control of everything." The board members shifted uncomfortably in their seats. "Turn it off," Ella said firmly. "We all know the truth." "Do we?" Another board member stood. "How can we trust anyone from this family anymore? Because of this." Bodhi entered, carrying a thick folder. "Complete forensic accounting of every transaction for the past 10 years. Every dollar tracked, every decision documented." He began distributing the reports. "You'll notice that while Stacy was making unauthorized deals, Zaley was actually saving the company money through legitimate contracts." The room fell silent as they read. Numbers don't lie, and these numbers told a clear story. My phone buzzed. A text from Camilla. Stacy's lawyer is holding another press conference. Turn to Channel 7. Wait, I said as Ricardo reached for the remote. Let them talk. We have something better than words. I pulled up the final slide of my presentation. A video compilation. Security footage of Stacy making backroom deals. Audio recordings of her threatening employees. Bank statements showing the stolen millions. We can release all of this, I said quietly. Air every bit of dirty laundry on national TV, or, someone prompted. Or we can focus on moving forward, building something better. The choice is yours. The board members exchanged glances. Finally, the chairman spoke. Put it to a vote. All in favor of appointing Zaley as CEO and implementing her restructuring plan? Hands raised one by one. Not all, but enough. More than enough. Motion carried, the chairman announced. Congratulations, Zaley. As the board filed out, Ella hugged me tight. Your father would be so proud. Ms. Zaley? Ricardo interrupted. There's someone here to see you. A woman entered. I recognized her as Thomas's secretary. She clutched a USB drive. I've been keeping records, she said nervously. Of everything. The real deals, the hidden accounts. Things even your sister doesn't know about. Bodhi took the drive. This could be crucial evidence. Why now? I asked her. She straightened her shoulders. Because you reminded me that doing the right thing matters more than doing the easy thing. Later that evening, as I packed up my father's old office, my office now, Gareth appeared in the doorway. Your sister's lawyer called, he said. They want to make a deal. What kind of deal? Full confession. Names of all conspirators, in exchange for a reduced sentence. I sat in Dad's chair, running my fingers over the worn leather armrests. What do you think? I think, he said carefully, that sometimes mercy is stronger than justice. My phone lit up with a message from an unknown number. A video file. Stacy, in her prison jumpsuit, looking defeated. I'm sorry, she said simply. For everything. You were right, and I was wrong, and I'm sorry. I played it 3 times, searching for manipulation, for lies. Found none. Tell her lawyer yes, I told Gareth. But with conditions. She gets help. Real help. And when she's out, if she wants it, there's a place for her here. A chance to rebuild. After everything she did? I looked at Dad's photo on the wall. Family is complicated, but it's still family. Gareth nodded slowly. I'll make the calls. As night fell over the city, I stood at the office window, watching lights flicker on across the skyline. Tomorrow would bring new challenges, new battles. But for now, in this moment, I felt something I hadn't felt in years. Peace. My phone buzzed one last time. Ella. Dinner at home tonight. Time to start new traditions. I smiled, grabbed my coat, and turned off the lights. It was time to go home. 6 months passed in a blur of board meetings and rebuilding. The company was slowly regaining its footing, and today marked another milestone. Stacy's sentencing hearing. You don't have to go, Ella said as we walked up the courthouse steps. Yes, I do. Inside, the courtroom was packed. Stacy sat at the defendant's table wearing a simple gray dress instead of her usual designer labels. She looked smaller somehow, more human. All rise, the bailiff called. Judge Martinez studied the papers before her. Before I deliver the sentence, would the defendant like to make a statement? Stacy stood slowly. Her hands shook as she unfolded a piece of paper. I had a whole speech prepared, she said, then crumpled the paper. But that's what got me here. Always performing, always pretending. So instead, I'll just tell the truth. She turned to face me. I was jealous. Dad trusted you more, even though I was the one trying so hard to impress him. Every time you succeeded by just being yourself, I hated you a little more. So I started lying, cheating, doing whatever it took to win. And somewhere along the way, I lost myself. Tears streamed down her face. I'm sorry, Zaylee. I'm sorry, Mom. I'm sorry, Dad. She looked up at the ceiling. I know you can't hear me, but I'm sorry. The judge leaned forward. Given your cooperation and the testimony from your sister requesting leniency, I'm sentencing you to 18 months in a minimum security facility, followed by 3 years of probation. You'll also make full restitution of all stolen funds. As the gavel fell, Stacy's shoulders slumped with relief. Thank you, she whispered as they led her away. Outside, reporters swarmed us. Zaylee, how do you feel about the sentence? Will you allow your sister back into the company? No questions, Bodhi intervened, guiding me through the crowd. Back at the office, Camilla was waiting with Ricardo and a stack of files. We found something interesting in Thomas's records, she said. Remember that secretary who gave us the USB drive? She had more. Ricardo spread photos across my desk. These were taken at various hotels over the past year. Thomas meeting with competitors, making deals behind everyone's back, including Stacy's. So she wasn't working alone, I mused. Not even close, Camilla replied. Thomas was playing both sides, using Stacy as a scapegoat while he built his own empire. Where is he now? Gone, Ricardo said. Disappeared right after Stacy's arrest, but he left a trail. My phone rang, an international number. Hello? Ms. Zaylee? A heavily accented voice. This is Detective Santos from São Paulo Police. We have detained someone you might be interested in speaking with. I put the phone on speaker. Thomas? Yes, he was trying to access certain bank accounts we were monitoring at your lawyer's request. After hanging up, I called Bodhi. They found him. I heard, he replied. Already booking a flight to Brazil. Wanna come? No, I said, looking at the family photo on my desk. I have somewhere else to be. The women's correctional facility was nothing like I'd imagined. Clean, quiet, almost peaceful. Stacy sat across from me at a metal table, picking at her sleeve. They found Thomas, I told her. Her head snapped up. Where? Brazil. Trying to access money he stole from both of us. She laughed bitterly. I trusted him. Should have known better. We all should have. I slid a folder across the table. But that's not why I'm here. This is your copy of the company's new organizational chart. There's a position waiting for you when you get out. If you want it. Her hands trembled as she opened the folder. Vice President of Client Relations? After everything? You were always better with people than me. When you weren't trying to destroy them anyway. For the first time in years, she gave me a real smile. Not the practiced one she used for photos. I don't deserve this chance. Maybe not. But Dad always said everyone deserves a shot at redemption. As I stood to leave, she grabbed my hand. Zaylee, thank you for not giving up on me. That evening, Ella hosted a family dinner. Camilla brought wine, Bodhi brought case files, despite my protests about working hours. And Ricardo brought news of Thomas's impending extradition. To justice, Ella toasted. To family, I corrected, raising my glass. My phone lit up with a message from the prison, a photo of Stacy holding up a handmade sign. Save my office chair. I'll earn it back. Maybe some things really do come full circle. The autumn breeze rustled through Dad's favorite oak tree as I placed fresh flowers on his grave. The morning sun cast long shadows across the cemetery, and somewhere nearby, a bird sang. I wish you could see how things turned out, I whispered, touching the cool stone. He can. Stacy's voice came from behind me. She stood in a simple business suit, her ankle monitor finally removed. At least that's what I like to think. I hadn't expected her here today, her first day of freedom. Shouldn't you be getting ready for the office? This felt more important. She knelt beside me, placing her own flowers. Besides, the board meeting isn't until 10. My phone buzzed. Bodhi sending the final numbers from Thomas's prosecution. Full restitution plus damages. The company was more stable than ever. Nervous about today? I asked Stacy, terrified. She managed a small smile, but ready. A car pulled up to the cemetery gates. Ella and Camilla, right on time. Our weekly family breakfast tradition hadn't stopped, even during Stacy's incarceration. We just had to get creative with visiting hours. Girls, Ella called out. The diner's holding our usual table. At Mario's diner, the waitress didn't bat an eye at Stacy's return. She just brought our usual orders. Black coffee for me, herbal tea for Stacy, pancakes for Camilla, and Ella's eternal French toast. Before we eat, Ella said, pulling out an envelope, I found this in your father's old desk. It's marked for both my girls when they're ready. Stacy and I exchanged glances. Together, we opened the envelope. Inside was a photo. Dad holding both of us as children, before the competition, before the lies. With it, a letter. My daughters, if you're reading this, you've either worked things out, or your mother finally got fed up and locked you both in a room until you did. Either way, I'm proud. Success isn't measured in dollars or deals. It's measured in the bridges we build, the wrongs we right, and the love we share. I failed you both by not saying this enough when I could. Zaylee, your strength was never in trying to prove yourself. It was in being yourself. Stacy, your worth was never in trying to be perfect. It was in being real. Take care of each other. Take care of the company. But most importantly, take care of yourselves. Love always, Dad. Stacy wiped her eyes with a napkin. He knew. He knew we'd end up here. He hoped. Ella corrected gently. My phone buzzed again. Ricardo this time. Thomas took the plea deal. Full confession. It's really over. As we finished breakfast, Gareth appeared at our table. Sorry to interrupt, but the board's gathering early. Big client waiting. Both of us? Stacy asked uncertainly. Both of you, he confirmed. They specifically requested the Harper sisters. Walking into the boardroom together felt surreal. The client, a major tech company, wanted to discuss expansion plans. As Stacy presented market analysis she'd prepared in prison, I watched the board members' faces shift from skepticism to interest. Impressive work, the client said. Both of you. Your father built something special here. No, I corrected, catching Stacy's eye. We're building something special here. After the meeting, I found Stacy in Dad's old office. My office now. Your desk is down the hall, I said. Corner office, like you always wanted. I know. She ran her fingers along the bookshelf. Just wanted to say goodbye properly this time. To who I was, what I did. Fresh start? Fresh start. She turned, smiling genuinely. Though I still plan to outperform you in client acquisitions. Legally this time? Legally this time. As she left, I noticed she'd placed something on Dad's old desk. Our childhood photo, the one from his letter, in a new frame. My phone lit up one last time. A message in our family group chat. Ella had sent a picture of Dad's garden, which she'd finally started tending again. The roses he loved were blooming. Stacy replied first. Family dinner tonight? I'll cook. You'll burn down the kitchen, I texted back. Probably. Take out at my place then? Deal. I looked out the office window at the city below. The same view Dad had loved, now shared by both his daughters. Not in competition, but in collaboration. On my desk, the photo caught the morning light. 2 sisters, 1 father, countless possibilities ahead. This time, we'd write the story together.